Hey guys, and welcome to the top 5 best movies of 2024. I definitely fell behind on watching movies this year. In total, I saw 14 movies. In total, you saw...
We saw 14. We also saw 2 throwback movies that don't count for this year, but we did go to the theaters for 2 more movies on top of these 14. And I guess it is worth mentioning. There was a couple we saw, not in theaters, but they were new releases this year. For my honorable mentions of 2024 best movies, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes just barely missed my top 5. It came in at number 6. And I also want to give a shout out and honorable mention to Fall Guy. And my reasoning for that, and I can't get too much into detail on that, but like Proxima Caesar for Planet of the Apes was a big reason why. That's an honorable mention. And Ryan Gosling did a great job in Fall Guy. He was really funny in that as well. And I also want to give a quick little shout out to Beetlejuice 2, just because of the Bob performance and Beetlejuice character. That was worth the price of admission, in my opinion.
But let's just get right into it. Starting with number 5.
Clocking in at number 5 for me is Speak No Evil. This is one that you did not see. So Speak No Evil was definitely a pretty solid movie in my opinion. I went into it not really knowing what was going to go on outside of the fact that James McAvoy is in this movie, and he's usually very, very good in his roles, whatever he's doing, especially with the Split movie that we saw a while back. So going into this movie, I was definitely intrigued, and then leaving the theater, it was so well acted. The horror was done pretty well with the suspense. It's definitely a mystery suspense type movie, so I wouldn't say it's very much horror-like. There are some horror-like scenes, but it's more of a mystery thriller. It has you on edge the whole time. You're living this story out through the family that's there. There are some dumb character decisions made in the movie, but for the most part, it was a very enjoyable movie, and one that I enjoyed enough to put it on my top 5. So there's definitely a lot to like about it, and just very well acted, well filmed, and it definitely deserves the number 5 spot on my top 5 list of 2024.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that movie. I wish I would have. Number 5 for me is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This was a continuation of the Planet of the Apes trilogy, which I think is very good. First 2 are excellent. And the third one was still pretty good. This continues it. It doesn't have the same level that Caesar brought to the series. Just that, I know he's a CGI character, but he really did just carry that series. The series went through him. And it was a good sequel. It had great visual effects, had some good characters in there, had a decent storyline, had a good villain that was underutilized in Proxima Caesar. It makes the top 5 best. I wouldn't say this is a great, amazing movie, but it's in the top 5 best. This is one that I have to put in here. I thought it was a decent movie, and it makes this list. It fits at my number 5 spot. So now number 4.
But getting to number 4 on my list is Trap. Trap was one that I really kind of just came out of nowhere this past year. I feel like we saw the trailer literally in 2024, and you and I were both like, man, that seems kind of, we laughed about it, but we also thought it was kind of interesting, and we're like, we have to go see this movie. And it turned out to be a really fun time. There's some people that definitely didn't like it, and I can understand where the storyline and some of the stuff that was going on might have been a little too much for some people, but for me, this type of movie is just made for me as far as the character, especially the main character in this movie, and the way that they did it. There's just so many scenes that just were hilarious to me, but then also had me intrigued throughout the entire movie. The final act got a little bit crazy, but because of the main actor in this movie, the lead actor in this movie, and the role he plays and how it finishes, that's why it's at number 4 for me. Just because of it's hard to explain, but the main actor in this movie did a great job of playing this unhinged like person, and the comedy worked for me. And there was some really, maybe it wasn't intended to be funny, like with a person trying to get into a bathroom, but that scene was hilarious, and just all that stuff combined is why it's number 4. So while number 5 might have been a better film, this one had more fun. I had more fun with this movie in theaters watching the Trap movie. So Trap comes in at number 4 on my top 5.
Yeah, Trap was definitely a fun movie. Didn't make my top 5. If you saw it, I'm not going to show you the list because I don't want to spoil it, but it was number 7 for me. Barely didn't make it. It was a fun movie. Number 4 for me, though, is Roadhouse. This was a Amazon Prime movie. Saw this at home. My dad mentioned it, and he showed me one scene, and then I ended up watching the whole movie, and this was a lot of fun. This is not some complex movie. This is a pretty basic storyline. Just a boxer, kind of retired. He ends up getting into this mode where he gets a little too intense, ends up killing someone boxing, and you have Conor McGregor as a villain in this movie who is just, it's a really fun movie. Great action, and that's what this movie is. It was just fun. Has Jake Gyllenhaal as great as the main lead. Conor McGregor as the villain was just, I think, perfect since he fits that role of this fit guy and a good boxer while being crazy. And I really enjoyed this movie. Definitely deserves number 4 spot, and I had a lot of fun with this movie. But now number 3.
Yeah, Roadhouse is one that I missed this year that I definitely want to go back and actually get a chance to sit down and watch it. For me, my number 3 was Deadpool and Wolverine. Again, this is one that I definitely had some high expectations for, just because of I'd never seen the Deadpool movies before, and I'd never really seen any of the X-Men movies. I have seen bits and pieces of them, but I'm just not as well versed in that part of the Marvel cinematic universe. I'm not sure it's Sony or whatever company does those movies, but for some reason I still got excited for this, just because of the characters at face value of Deadpool and Wolverine working together, or kind of fighting each other as well in this movie, and I was really intrigued to go in and see this. And the soundtrack was great, the acting was phenomenal. Just the two of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, those two did a great job playing off each other, and there's just so many scenes in that movie that I'm surprised I didn't go back to see it again. We were going to go back to see it a couple more times, but because of that just shows how impactful it was and how funny certain scenes were. There's a car fight sequence that's great. Almost every fight sequence was done just perfectly, and on top of that, there's another Deadpool character. Nice Pull was a great addition to this movie. I've had a fun time with this movie, so it definitely deserves the number 3 spot on my list of top 5 best movies of 2024.
Yeah, number 3 for me is also Deadpool and Wolverine. I've got to say, yeah, like you were just saying, we had never seen the Deadpool movies. I've seen parts, but at the time when those movies came out, I was into the MCU, and the serious tone and the jokiness in these movies just never appealed to me. And obviously it's rated R, and that stuff just did not appeal to me. And I think now maybe it's just like the state of Marvel now and just how bad it is. I was really excited for this movie, not even just because of that, but it's kind of like everything is so messed up now that I just wanted to see a fun movie with characters on screen. Obviously, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is excellent, and seeing him be with Deadpool, it's very appealing. And this movie was really fun. It had a lot of really funny scenes. I was laughing for most of this movie. Had great action. Deadpool and Wolverine together is just perfect. And it's a little too much joking around, which is why the MCU appeals to me so much, because they at least have some serious parts. But there was fun action. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are perfect. It was lacking a little bit of a villain, but great action scenes. A lot of fun. Definitely deserves the number 3 spot. But now, number 2.
Yep, getting the number 2 spot on my list is Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. As you know, with this channel, I'm not sure we put it. It's over there right now.
We should pop the box over there.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a movie that was. I mean, we're huge fans of the MonsterVerse. This channel is a big anchor of this channel. Is the MonsterVerse in general. So to see this be it's a big one. It's a big thing we got going. Pacific Rim's still coming back, but this movie was a really fun time, and it's probably one of my favorites in this entire MonsterVerse, which is saying a lot, because I've had fun with almost all of them, and I've really enjoyed all of them. And it's crazy to think this is the 5th edition to this universe. This is the 5th movie in this universe, which is saying a lot. It's amazing. I remember back when there was just the first 2, everyone were saying, we don't need any more of this. And then certain people like this, they were saying that they weren't buying it. Well, it doesn't matter if they're buying it or not, because we're still going on without them. And this is a very fun time. Just to see the 2 characters of Godzilla and Kong on screen again, working together. And there's a great villain in this movie. I wish we got more of him in Scar King. But just so much great monster action. And the special effects were done great. And I love the Hollow Earth setting with all the different things that were down there. And you can never get enough of that, especially for us too. Like, it's just, those movies can never be long enough. And again, the human actors, I thought that was actually one of the pluses of this movie. Was I have had some complaints with some of the human actors in the movies, not that much like other people, but in this one it was the least annoying group of people, and in some ways they were all very enjoyable to see on screen.
And the best driver of the ship.
Yeah, the best driver of the ship, and just everyone did a great job in this movie. There's so many good things. I could go on a whole hour video of just talking about this movie alone, but Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is definitely well deserving of the number 2 spot of 2024 best movies.
So number 2 for me is Smile 2, which this movie was hyped up a lot, and I was very happy to say that this movie delivered, I think, on a lot, because It was really hyped up, and for a horror movie, I usually don't like to do that, but it still basically got my expectations. This movie was really good from the beginning. Coming off of the first one, it made some decisions that I was like, I actually would have liked to have seen it go this way with a certain character, but they introduced a new character. The movie's really scary, really interesting the whole time. From the start, has one of the best one takes I've ever seen in a horror movie. An excellent scene. And then has some really scary scenes throughout, has a great soundtrack, and this movie barely didn't make the #1 spot. The ending, like we said, we had a problem with just because some stuff, I'm not going to spoil it. The ending disappointed me because of certain things you can't really tell what's real, but no doubt the Smile universe is one of the best ones out there, one of the best horror universes out there right now. I hope it keeps going, and this was a really good horror movie. It was really close to #1, but Smile 2 at #2. But now #1 on the list.
My #1 movie of 2024 is actually your #2 in Smile 2. This was one that, as you know on this channel, we are huge fans of the first Smile and just how well made it was, how scary it was, and just how well acted it was. So we had very high expectations going into this movie, and the fact that it came through in that regard. And honestly, the more I've thought about it here, coming months off maybe weeks and months off seeing this movie, is this was actually, in my opinion, maybe a little bit scarier than the first one. And they're both 10 out of 10s in my opinion, as far as how well they're made, how well they're acted. So they're right on level with each other. But for me, something about this one I enjoyed more. And when I say enjoyed more, it's hard to say enjoy because the way it ended was very frustrating. And I remember being at the theater, I was usually like we have those reclined seats, and I was like, you just stay reclined back. But for me, I was starting to unrecline towards the end just so I could like sit up like I was watching a sporting event, and was very frustrated with how it ended. But it was so well filmed and so well acted. I'm still bought in, and the fact that you have two movies in this universe, both 10 out of 10s in my opinion, says a lot about the direction of this world and just the way these movies are made and how unsettling these movies are. And as you mentioned, the very beginning of the movie, with that one shot was just incredible. And the way that it's amazing how movies that listen to fans and cater towards the fans typically end up on our #1 spot of movies. I remember last year was John Wick 4. That movie completely catered to the fans and listened to the fans. All that, it was a very good movie, and just there was really no doubt. I mean, there was somewhat of a debate between Godzilla x Kong and Smile 2, but for some reason Smile 2 was, even though I was frustrated with how it ended, it was just so well filmed, and I'm a huge horror fan, and I just, without a doubt, this is probably the second time that this universe has ended up on my #1 spot. Pretty sure the first Smile movie came in #1 in 2022.
You put that above Top Gun, I think.
Was that 2022? Yeah, it was 2022. So Smile 2 definitely takes the #1 spot on my list of best movies 2024.
But #1 for me, even though 1 and 2 is so close, is Godzilla x Kong. I love these MonsterVerse movies, and this one obviously was the most hyped up of all the movies. And while I think they might have done a little too much, and they could have went a more solo story route with Kong and developed Scar King more, I can't deny this movie, it gives you what you want to see. Monsters fighting each other. I mean, even from the beginning, you see Godzilla just charge and take out a monster. I mean, these wide shots of the monsters running at each other. Scar King is just great for the scenes he's in. I wish he was in it longer. And this movie delivers with a lot of new monsters. It has probably my favorite fight scene in any of the MonsterVerse with Godzilla and Kong in Egypt, where when they run into each other in the IMAX theater we saw that in, I mean, you can just feel the weight of these monsters running around and running into each other. And I love monster movies. It's just a simple thing, I just love seeing monsters fight each other. That's what this movie gives you. And there's entire scenes without humans and just monsters fighting. Would have liked to have seen them kind of develop into another movie, because this could have been 2 movies easily. But no doubt, had a lot of fun. Love the MonsterVerse. Can't wait for the next movie. And this is probably, like you said, probably my favorite movie in the MonsterVerse so far. And it's #1, my favorite movie of 2024.
Yep. That was our top 5 best movies of 2024, guys. Let us know in the comments what your top 5 list was, and was there any movies that we missed or didn't see at all that you think might have made that list and jumped ahead of any of these movies on the list of top 5 best. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for our top 5 worst/most disappointing movies of 2024.
Get ready, buckle up.
We're getting ready to do that next. So anyways, guys, hope to see you in that video, but if not, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.